and edit them, and they got to repost them.
Okay. Well, okay, that's cute. That's cute. I like this angle. All right.
Yeah, that's good. That's
That
good.
will
That's good background.
do.
Hey, listen, it's authentic. It's authentic.
There we go. All right. As you could tell, folks, this is episode 1. There we are. All right. Let us smooth our way around these technical difficulties and keep it rolling. Okay. All right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay. All right. Boom. All right. 4:45, so 5:45. Bam. Okay. All right. Welcome, everybody. I am Raven Alvarez. I am the Raven Alvarez. And this is my co-host.
Andre Hill Jr. The Raven Alvarez. I like that. I'm gonna start putting a D in front of my name. Like I like that.
With that little authentic.
It's a sale. It's a company sale.
All right, folks. So this is our first episode of. Oh, hey, somebody tuned in. Hello, hello.
Okay.
All right, so this is our first episode. This is one. We are going to have a discussion today, talking about the first chakra and about the connection between the chakras and money. So we're going to do a quick introduction. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about who I am, and Andre, my co-host, he's going to tell you a little bit about himself, so you just know who it is who's talking to you. And then we're going to jump in and start talking about this topic. So, Jay, did you want to start first?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Peace and love, everybody. I'm Andre Hill Jr., also known as Andre Maurice Amaru Day. So you know what? It just dawned on me. Okay, all right. I'm gonna try to keep it brief. It's a lot of hats I wear.
Mm.
Let's bring it from the first umbrella. I'm a self-sustainabilitist, large construction and large background in construction. Established my own tribal government. Um, yeah, that's let's leave it there for the moment because I'll be rattling for a little minute if I try to you know identify all the hats. Um, but
Definitely mention your real estate, because since we're talking about the root chakra, rooted
indeed,
earth, real estate, land, and money, and we can talk about that.
absolutely. So yeah, forgive me, family, when I say sustainability, it's like land is included. Like an environmentalist. When I say an environmental developer, that's what includes that. Real estate development, real estate investment, land acquisition, land development, property, residential and commercial. Yeah. So yeah, that is the gist of who I am.
Cool. And I am Raven Alvarez. I am um, also, well, oh gosh, I have a lot of hats too. Let me try to narrow them down. So yes, for this particular topic, so the most relevant hat is that I am an investor. I'm an author, investor, and I'm the owner of Seraphine Spa in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And being a CEO, being an investor, being a small business owner, there's a lot that has taken place on this journey. And since we're talking about the chakras, what I'd like to do first is to dive into my previous journey being a solopreneur, and talk about the trials and the tribulations of going through solopreneurship, and then how that relates to root chakra, because money has been like a completely spiritual journey for me. And one of the reasons that Andre and I have decided to do this podcast is because we want more people to understand and to develop a connection between spirituality and money. These two are not they're not at odds. We have been taught in the past, the past of money is where these things are at odds, but we're changing the nature of money. We're changing what money is and what it's going to become by putting heart-centered, spirit-centered energy onto money. That's why money has transformed. That's why there are so many more millionaires now, so many more investors, so many more entrepreneurs. And we just want to kind of continue to bridge that gap between money and spirit, basically, essentially. So, yes. So today's episode is called, so our whole series is money, medicine, healing wealth through the chakras. And so basically, the feminine wisdom, masculine grounding, and we're going to be discussing in this whole series, this whole 7 episode series, we're going to be discussing on every chakra the different aspect of entrepreneurship, business ownership, investing, and money and finances that relates to each of the chakras. So for this one, this episode is called Rooted in Revenue. It's about the survival shift from being a solopreneur into becoming a very secure entrepreneur, and that in itself is a big step. Big step. A lot. It seems like solopreneur can smoothly transition into entrepreneurship where you build, big legacies, but it doesn't. And since almost nobody on social media, anywhere on YouTube, everybody's trying to sell you something on Instagram, everybody's trying to sell you something, and people give the glossy side of entrepreneurship, of business ownership, of finance, and they don't tell about that dirty underside that makes a lot of people give up. There's a reason that most businesses fold within the first year, and even more fold within the first 5 years. Um, there are a lot of connections to that, and we're going to start to hit those today. We're going to start to cover all of those, so let's get
Yeah,
it.
let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. Raven, you mentioned, I'm gonna be honest with you. You mentioned the term solopreneur,
Mm.
right? I'm gonna be honest, I've never heard of the term. Never
Really?
knew what it was. Yeah, yeah, never knew
Oh,
what it was.
okay. Yeah, they threw
If
it around all over the internet while you weren't looking.
yeah, 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 obviously, I was under an entrepreneur rock. Um, but in case the audience is ignorant to it as well, if you could, just give your description of it, and especially in contrast to a successful entrepreneur.
Cool. So solopreneurship is essentially exactly what it sounds like. So entrepreneurship is all aspects of entrepreneur. It's whether you own a small business, whether you made an LLC and you're the only person doing wearing every hat in the business, or whether you have like a massive corporation with hundreds of employees and sub-employees under it. All of those are entrepreneur, but solopreneur is specifically that word kind of was given birth to during COVID when all these solopreneurs
Gotcha,
popped up. All of it, everybody was like not working, uh, and people were suddenly. It was the time and the energy was available to start creating their own dreams, of things they wanted to do, and so people started to develop their creative capacity to sell something that actually mattered to them. And so the solopreneur is more about people who, like, for example, like during COVID I was selling products. I'm a health and wellness, been a wellness coach for 25 years plus. During that time, during COVID, when so many people were suddenly aware of health, and people were getting sick and worried about getting sick, and then there were vaccine arguments and all of these kind of things, and people were looking for alternatives. Because I've been in holistic wellness for so many years, I immediately was able to kind of like bridge a gap with developing some type of products that for people who didn't want a vaccine and things like that. And not necessarily it was for anybody, but a lot of people who were looking for alternative remedies were very into what I had offering at the time.
gotcha.
So being a graphic designer, I was the label maker. I bought the bottles. I, it created the thing. So I had a lab in my house, like a room dedicated to like a sterile space for making the products, and then but I had another space for bottling the products and another space for labeling the products and the computer for label. So all of that's solopreneurship. Solopreneur means you wear every hat in the business, and it's all you.
Gotcha.
And we got no
Makes
help,
sense.
no hands on deck. No paid hands on deck for sure. Sometimes we got hands on deck because family members are in there holding the camera or putting the label or signing the things or taking it to the post office. But yeah, paid labor is definitely not on the solopreneur thing. But yeah, essentially that.
Gotcha. 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 Okay. Okay. So now, I've got quite a bit to learn from you. So I'm gonna ask you a few questions here. Okay.
Yes, please. I'm
All right.
excited. You
So
you always have some mind opening, deep thinking questions.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I,
Let's
I
get it.
try. I try. I try. Um. So in the concept of, thinking about, because again, well, let me come back. I'm sorry, let me come back. And before I get into asking you, particular questions, um, this episode is titled "Rooted in Revenue," right?
Mhm.
And that relates to the root chakra, right?
Yes.
Um, as far as the entire chakra systems go in, starting at the root and all the implications that come along with the root chakra, survival, security,
Mhm.
those type of things. Um, with you, what were some of like the most earliest money beliefs and or survival modes that you were in? Let's say in the when it comes to running your own businesses, basically.
Mm. Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you. Um, so in order to answer that, let me give a quick rundown
Yeah,
of basically the last 7 years of my money journey, which is interesting
yeah,
actually thinking about it now. Now I'm at the crown because 7 years, that's one
yeah.
full chakra cycle. But anyhow, that aside, I just want to give a quick synopsis of my most recent aspect of my money journey without even going back, just briefly mentioning my past. I grew up in a house. We had my parents separated, or my parents divorced when I was 4, my biological parents, and my mother. We moved away. We went to live in another place. And even though my mother was, college educated, she was went to Howard. She was working on her master's degree. She was in nursing and also in speech therapy. Even though she was doing well, the split suddenly, the sudden shift in finances from one, from two incomes to one, made a difference in our household. So even as a little girl, I felt the shift with that, and I felt this there was a separation. So there's already, and before you even realize that these things are happening, they're starting to download into you. So there's like, an anxiety from, wow, now we are, we're independent, we're on our own, we have to work on our own, we have to figure it out on our own. And I saw that made a, shift in our finances. And then that was one circumstance. And then when my parents, my biological mother passed away, but my when I was living with my father and my stepmother, who's raised me, for the rest of my life until now, when living with them, they had lots of money issues. They weren't in agreement on money. And we'll talk about second chakra money issues, partnerships, and things like that. Partnership alignments, that's coming up, episode 2. But they were not in alignment about how money should be handled and managed and run. And because of that lack of alignment, we were constantly in difficulties. So we lived in a great town. We lived in a very wealthy town. We lived in a beautiful home, and we went to good schools. But we still, behind the scenes, were always going through money issues. And my parents didn't have good credit. And sorry, parents, sorry to tell your business out here. Only doing it for for the lesson, but those are the lessons that, again, that you download these certain lessons into you. You download how to manage, how to be. We all download behavior as we grow. So I downloaded very bad money management, and that was how I do. And then as I left home. I had a difficult time with my family, and I left home early. I was still in my teens when I left, and um, I went out into the world basically with no financial acumen, no financial wisdom, no understanding of how to do it all. At 16, like the first time that I got a bank account, I didn't know how to write a check. I had to ask the teller at the bank. I had to take my checkbook once I got it in the mail to the bank and ask the teller how to write a check. And just not getting financial education, it made a huge difference in how I was with money. So I already had root issues from being unrooted, parents divorced, moving to different places. So I was already not rooted in myself because of my family situation, but then I didn't have money management skills either. So the combination of those like definitely set me off down a very difficult path that it took a long time to come back from. And then, sorry that I've taken all this time just talking about the distant past, but talking more recently. So basically, the start of my very intentional my money journey My intentional money journey started in 2018, and I at that year was a difficult year for me. So at the time I was a single mother, had two daughters, I have two daughters, and I was living under a lot of stress in the year leading up to that. And I was diagnosed. I had 13 tumors in my brain, 13 lesions in my brain that they didn't know what they were. They didn't know whether they were going to become cancerous. They didn't know if it was something that was going to turn into multiple sclerosis. They wanted to do a spinal tap on me and try to do different tests. But anyhow, I didn't like the medical answers, so I was working to heal myself. But I was in agony all the time because of these brain issues. So I was having severe migraines. Many days I couldn't turn on any kind of sound. I couldn't turn on lights because it was too painful. So I wasn't able to work. And then we ended up in the home that I had with my daughters at the time. My We ended up losing our home, and I had to move back in with my mother, and my daughters had to stay with my brother. And I remember just making this vow to myself at that time, like, I never ever ever want to experience this level of lack ever again. Like, I had so many cycles of lack all through my life, and I was like, whatever it takes to completely conquer the lack cycle, I'm going to do it. And even at the time back then, I knew that spirituality and money are connected. So the root, so spirit, like your inner self is the root of everything. So I decided, let me go back in, let me go internal and figure out what it is that I need to, what blockages I need to remove, what I need to do from in here, and then start to translate that into some kind of manifestation that I was going to create in the world. And so going from losing our home, like at that time, my daughter was 17 at the time, and in order to help our family have money, she literally was selling weed, and somebody um, snitched on her, and she sold some weed to an undercover. And our house was raided by 9 SWAT guards in a military tank that rolled up on our lawn at 6 o'clock on a Saturday morning, bust into our house with AK-47s, threw smoke bombs, dragged my daughter out, threw her face down on the ground with an AK-47 in her back. Some of them went around the side of our house, shot bullets into the room where my daughter was sleeping. One of the bullets was lodged into her bed. Luckily, she heard the sounds and she jumped up and ran away from the bed, and was hiding in the bathroom. She had locked herself in the bathroom and was hiding inside the shower. And the police came in and absolutely destroyed our house. Like, they ransacked everything. They ripped the ceiling, they ripped the walls open, they ripped open the cabinets, dragged everything out, went through our food, dumped out like tubs of butter. Like, they destroyed everything in the house, and we had a lot to rebuild. You know how many books I have, Dre.
Yeah,
So
I
imagine
bet.
them pulling like
Yeah.
800 books off of all the shelves, and that was just like one disaster. So it was such a low point in our lives. So to go through that and then to lose our home, both of my girls were severely traumatized by that. And it was like it was like such a deep punch. It was such a punch in the root chakra to experience, like having somebody completely invade you and take everything you have when you were just trying to survive.
Mhm.
And that was what I realized, that when you are in survival mode, that's when the worst stuff happens. When
Mhm.
you're in survival mode, that's when the attacks come and the things fall apart and things like that. So you have to go back to the root. You have to go back to the root and heal. I had to figure out what was why was I so rooted in survival instead of in thriving and expansion? And that's been my process over the last 7 years, literally from that moment, from looking at my daughter face down on the ground, from sitting on our front lawn with all of our neighbors watching while a SWAT team destroyed the inside of our home, and stole our money and did other, unmentionable things. But it was the most rock bottom that you as a parent who's just trying to raise your children to be happy, thriving, and safe in the world. That's the most rock bottom that you can hit. And that was the bounce point for me, coming back to. So sorry, long extended
No,
answer,
no,
but
no,
that was,
necessary.
mm,
Yeah. Um,
that's where it began.
that's a really, now mind you, just for the sake of it, I've known you for some time. We've been friends for some time, and just it's like I knew that. But just even you recounting the story, it's just how I can imagine how impactful that was. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, no, we gotta, I mean, this segues here. That this segues. Like, and I'm gonna ask on behalf of the audience, like, how did you bounce back from that?
This is where it goes into the pure resilience. You
Mhm.
know, I always everything that I've done in my life, I've been spiritual. I've been spiritual my entire life. Like literally, my
Mhm.
mom passed away when I was 8, and I saw her spirit the day that she passed. And I've just been kind of just spiritual. You know, that's a whole other podcast, or at least a whole other episode.
Yeah.
But I've always understood that everything goes back to some kind of internal shift that needs to be made. You
Mhm.
know, fortunately too, I will say I grew up with once my my mom passed, I went to live with my father and my stepmother, and my stepmother is in psychiatry and my father is in psychology. So we were also raised where like the mental field was like a regular conversation in our household. An analysis of other people, self-analysis, those were regular things. That so being a spiritual being, and then also being kind of connected to analysis and to understanding, always looking for a deeper understanding of like what is the cause of this, what is behind this. That was definitely a gift of being, given to that family. And there were many other non-gifts. But that was one of the gift parts.
I got you.
But
I got you.
yeah, yeah. So just always looking for what it is. There's always, and then be my, on myself, but I've had like 5 Sagittarius placements, and if anybody knows anything about astrology, Sag is like the eternal optimist of the whole, zodiac. And there always is a better way. Like there's always a better way. Like there's always some way there's always a solution. There's always some way for things to be done and for you to get where it is that you're trying to get. There's always a
Mm.
way. Sometimes, people live and die and never find the way. Some people live and die and never even ask themselves what is the way. But for a person who is raised to ask questions, I've always looked for like, what is the way? If this way isn't working, then what was not working about it? Rewind the tape and let's go back and look again and find where the answer can be. And that's a lifelong process too, you know.
Yeah, for sure. So now, and so here's the thing. You've you got the receipts. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
You see, because I can imagine this. A lot of people will look at you now and just be like, "Ain't no way you've been through that."
Mm.
You see what I'm saying? Right? So you
Mm.
got the receipts. I mean, and for whatever analogy is worth it. I mean, you've got the tangibles. Like you've literally got the tangibles to prove that you've made a shift,
Yeah.
right? That you've made a shift. And I think that's what I think a lot of people want to hear that, especially from you. Like even me. Like I mean, we've talked. But it's like you see what I'm saying? I think the audience needs to know. I think the people out there want to hear, okay, this woman is tried and true. Like, so I'm gonna listen to her because I everybody else might be faking it. She ain't faking it, right? But how did you make the because I'm pointing at my head because I want to say how did you make the mental shifts, but I don't even want to just limit it to that. So I'm just gonna leave it as overall. How did you? What were your steps? What was your process on shifting? Like from that state of being and existing and launching yourself, molding yourself, adapting to, like a spirit of thriving in abundance.
Mm. So, mindset is the right place to start, I would say. While I was going through those days with the all the brain lesions where I couldn't get up out of bed, where the migraines were super severe, on the days when I was able to tolerate sound, I would go on YouTube and just put on motivational speaking because I felt so miserable. Like it was so terrible going through that. Like to be in the bed and you can't get up. Like I couldn't cook, food for my kids. I couldn't do anything. Like I was couldn't produce. I wasn't functional at all. And all I could do was I was playing E.T. the Hip Hop Preacher, playing Tony Robbins, Neville Goddard, and I was listening to stuff about mindset shift, and it was like way before even my body could get up off the bed to
Mhm.
do anything more than like use the bathroom. I would lay there, and the stuff that they were saying, they're like, "You've got this, come on!" And it was
Mhm.
like creating this fire inside of me that was really, and so the mindset shift. It was almost like, I don't know if somewhere in the spirit realm all of that happened in order for me to do that, because I was like a go person, go, 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 go. And to have to be forced to just lay still and listen was something so, it was so far from where I was in the way I move, that it turned out to be a blessing. It was a horrible blessing, but it did turn out to be a blessing. And so that was it. So the first all those months, first I felt like, okay, I am not going to make it through these 13 brain tumors. I am going to die. I'm not going to survive this. And and then going from I'm not going to survive at all to I am going to, oops, okay, sorry folks, we have a customer who doesn't know that we're closed this Memorial weekend.
Hey, listen,
So excuse us
that's
for
good
the sound in
business.
the back. And that's going to be my episode 7, or I don't even know which episode we're going to get to here, because I went from talking about solopreneurship and everything, and then I'm now sitting inside of my 3,400 square
Yeah.
foot med spa in South Florida, next to my husband, who is answering the door for me. So it
Cisco.
definitely made some shifts. I definitely did make some shifts.
For sure. For
But
sure.
the shift definitely began with the mindset. That was the big piece right there. That was like the first puzzle piece. And for all people who are working on this, I highly encourage you that that's the place to start.
Mm.
Don't just go looking for mindset stuff and start just trying to chew up every mindset video that you come across on YouTube, because mindset is very specific. If you haven't done some level of self-analysis where you can say, wow, you know what, I'm locked here, I'm locked in this habit, in this pattern, in this behavior. And if you don't have the things that you want in your life, whether those things are love, whether it's money, whether it's a family, whether it's a good family relationship with your family of origin, your biological family, whatever it is that you're wanting, if you don't have it, that means that there's some kind of block, that there's some kind of shift needed, that there are layers that need to be peeled back and examined for you to figure out what it is that is keeping you over here from the things you want, which are over here. And so, first, the self analysis. And that's what I would recommend, Jay. I would say to everyone, analyze to the best of your ability, because
Yeah.
analysis, I always took self-analysis as a given. But even like being married to my husband,
Mm.
and learning from other people around me, some friends and my husband and everything, every self-analysis isn't a tool that is downloaded into everybody in their family of origin. It just happened to be in my family because of our psychology background. And so that came naturally to us, to my brothers and sisters and I. And I would, but whatever is needed for you to start to analyze yourself and to say like what kind of tools, so that even if you can just scrape the surface that you're aware of, that all the deeper subconscious blocks and things like that will come later. But if you analyze the things that you are aware of, if you dig into those first, at least you have a direction that you could point yourself in. So instead of just grabbing up any old mindset shift or inspirational video from off YouTube or a little clip off TikTok or something, you can actually start moving toward the things that are speaking to you, to your story. I think that's absolutely, and that's what it was that got me.
Gotcha.
I went from thinking I am going to die of these brain tumors and I am going to leave my children with no mother. So
Mhm.
where do I go from here? And I had to ask myself, like, do I want to live?
Mm.
Because that is a question that comes up. The pain was bad. If
Right.
anybody out there has ever had cancer, neuropathy, any kind of painful illness,
Mhm.
you know that there's moments where you don't want to be alive, where it's easier to just slip under. And you have to sometimes really question yourself, do you want to be here? And you have to answer that for yourself, because some people don't want to be here. And if that's the answer, that needs to be an honest answer as well. But
Right.
if we are here, we're here for some reason. You know, we came to, or we didn't come to Earth to die of pain, or to die an agonizing death. None of us came for that, you know. So, but we have to find our why somewhere inside of us and answer that. And until that gets answered, then it's the rest of the questions don't even have any relevance yet. We have to make that very clear for ourselves.
Got you. And you said a few very very profound points. Like you say, that asking yourself why. You know what I mean? Because now I'm not going to try to make comparisons here, but let's say I've suffered from migraines as well, and
Mm,
just going through the process of trying to heal self, and then even searching outside. Well, let me just say this: just uh, relying on modern professional help, right? Um, but the point is, the pain can get so severe, yeah, that
yeah,
even the strongest of us just be like, I. It's like I'm gonna either kill this pain or I'm gonna kill myself. It's gonna be one of the two, right?
yeah, goodness.
But like you say though, when you look at it like, no, well, I can't. And when you get a good sense of purpose, or you remember a good sense of purpose, it's like, no, I can't go out right now. Not like
Yeah,
this. You feel me? Not like this.
exactly, exactly.
Um, but what I've noticed is, and this is related to root chakra, is it requires you to sit still and say,
Mm,
okay, what is the issue right here, right now?
mm, mm.
I don't care about nothing else. It hurts too bad. I don't care about nothing else. Only thing I care
Yeah,
about is the pain, and that it can relate to any pain that you're having. As far as not having your actual roots healed, right?
yeah.
So I heard you loud and clear. The becoming stationary, like true and truly and present in the moment, and like you say, self-analyzing, like what is it that I need in order to feel to absorb nutrients, and you feel to say analogically, what do I need to be fulfilled? um and so and correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, even in and well, let me ask you, don't let me stay, let me ask you, in meditation, like when it comes to the root chakra, is how is that implemented? How is the root chakra implemented, let's say even in meditation?
Hmm. Oh, yeah, that's such a good question too. I'm trying to figure out how to not go so deep.
My bad.
And thank you again, you know, for keeping us grounded and rooted. Because I actually was thinking like, oh, I didn't even just I'm making the assumption that everybody who's tuning in would automatically know everything there is to know about the chakras, which may not be the case. So let's definitely cover some groundwork with the chakras in the first place. So just to talk about the root, and we spoke about this in our other in another podcast that we
Mhm.
did, just going into the root chakra. But the root is about, so the root chakra is the color red. Oh, boom, look at that. Bam, bam. I
Yeah,
came ready for today. The colors
sure.
red and black, both are root chakra. Um, blood and bones are both connected to root chakra. Those are both root energies. And so root is what roots us to both the earth. And a lot of times people think about being rooted to earth, but being rooted is also being rooted to your ancestors too. So your
Mhm.
DNA is also root.
Gotcha.
I should say the two strands. So I'm not going to get in too deep right now into the 12-strand DNA concept, but just to, um, just like our physical body has etheric levels,
Yeah,
our DNA also has etheric levels. And so there's more than the two physical strands of DNA. But anyhow, um, the the DNA, the blood, the bones, the bloodline, those things. Our rooting is partly due to our ancestry. So it's like our family of origin. For somebody who's adopted, and so you're born, or you're being grown already not rooted because you're not rooted into your ancestry, rooted into your family of origin, and that
mm,
is can cause issues. At times, a lot of times people have a sense of not feeling rooted and not feeling connected, no matter how deeply their adopted families love them or anything like
mm,
that. Um, so there's a really really powerful and important connection that needs to be made to being rooted. Knowing your ancestry, one way of looking into that is getting DNA tests, finding out your ancestry, listening to your grandparents or your grandparents, finding stories about your family, so that you can kind of start to connect pieces of who you are. Because at
exactly.
the root, at the survival, so who we are, and just now people are learning more and more, even with DNA. And now these days, many DNA tests offer um, analysis of, say, for example, your microbiome. So, like when your gut microbiome. So, what type of foods can you be allergic to? Because these things can be rooted in our ancestry as well. So, our
Mm,
DNA decides what type of food we might have an allergy to or a sensitivity to, which type of foods may help us or heal us, which roots and herbs and things like that, that we have a kinship with because of where our bodies, where our ancestral physical roots are. And there are certain things that can heal us better. So for something that might heal one tribe of people or one group of people may be detrimental, painful, or harmful to another group of people. So these kind of things. So all of this is root chakra. Everything is about survival, about family of origin, and about the protection of who you are, where you're from, and just the self. So the
mm,
self, as you grow up into a family or into a community, your sense of self expands into those people. But when from the root chakra, we see those people as self. So we see them, like, for example, when um, people sometimes find like find self in their country of origin, in their gender, in their whatever type of thing it is that says like these people are just like me.
mm,
That concept is a root chakra. So when we see, oh, I'm just like them, that's coming out into a different level. That's
mm,
coming from a different angle. So they're just like me, and I'm just like them. Is two different points of origin when we're making those connections. But they're just like me. These are my people. I'm like them. Like that. That is a sense of being rooted. That's being rooted into your group, your origin, your family, your tribe. So there's physiological rooting, there's family rooting, and then there's emotional rooting, like that, feeling
mm.
connected. And that's where our sense of safety comes with feeling connected. When people are afraid to go out and be different and things like that, a lot of times that's because they feel, oh, I'm going to be different than my group, my people are going to reject me. And that's a root chakra issue. And many times our sense of self is our authenticity is at odds with that. So a lot of us are living inauthentic lives because we have so much damage in the root chakra that we're not living our authentic self because we're so scared of being rejected by the group, the culture, the family,
Right.
that we would rather put on a mask, wear a mask to be like them than
Mm.
to stand apart and be ourselves. And it's not until we become ourselves that we become authentic and real. So it's
Indeed.
super important. And our realness and our authenticity is where we find our abundance. So healing the root chakra blocks is the first step in the journey to abundance. Absolutely.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Um, I really want to ask this question, and I was kind of pondering on it if it was, taking us off course, but I don't think so. So let me go ahead and shoot
Mm.
it.
Good one.
So
Bring it.
from your perspective, what does it mean for a woman to build wealth without sacrificing softness? And how do you personally create safety through feminine energy instead of consistently reaching for control? So and I know that's a long question. As long and loaded. You feel what I'm saying? But let's break it down to like the first the first half of the question. Everything before the first comment. So from your perspective, what does it mean for a woman to build wealth without sacrificing softness?
Ooh, let me go find a woman to ask who hasn't done that.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, that's a big right there. I feel
That
you.
is
I
a
understand.
big one because I sacrificed a great deal of softness in order to in order to arrive where I'm at. So I'm still asking myself that question. No, I'm half joking. I'm half joking. I know the answer, but knowing the answer and living the answer is sometimes
It's two
very
different.
difficult. We can know stuff, but in the real
Yeah.
moment, when it's like moment by moment, and we're making a choice in the moment, sometimes we don't always choose the path of the thing that that we know.
Mm,
But that's a fantastic question, and I I would say not by having done it or starting out this way because I started out because I ran away from home in my I'm just going to give some like very fast context, but I ran away from home early. I I've been sexually assaulted both in my childhood as a very young child or young girl, and then also again in my teens. And so I didn't enter the world with a sense of safety, and I was also like physically abused by my father while I was growing up. So I didn't enter the world with a sense of feminine safety.
mm,
And so what I did to compensate for that was to put layers and layers of protection. And through different points of my life, the protection manifested in different ways. So there were times
mm,
when the protective layer looked like appearing very masculine, like in my early 20s at one point after a particularly bad relationship that I had been in, that I ended an abusive relationship with an alcoholic. I became very masculine. I shaved my head, and not to say, and no, please don't anyone who's listening think that I'm meaning that a shaved head means any kind of feminine. I'm talking about what I was doing with it. So that was subconsciously intentional. So that was where I was coming with it. Shaved my head. I was wearing very masculine clothing. And I had a kind of more of a like a masculine energy towards connecting with the opposite sex, and that was a layer of protection for me. So that was
mm,
one step. And then at other times it was about being in control. um, the less rooted that we feel, the less safe that we feel, the more we reach for control and safety, and that often can look like pushing people away, sabotaging relationships with people who want to bring out the softness in you. And even in my marriage now, as we evolve and as we learn, we're going into our fifth year of marriage, and we're in evolving and learning how to allow the softness and release the control is still something, because it was something that I had for my entire life. It's still something that like layers and layers are being peeled back and uncovered and released and washed away. But in business, particularly in finance, moving into what masculine energy is, because masculine is protective,
mm.
just in yin yang. Let's
Yeah.
just make this very clear. Masculine energy, and so like masculine and feminine are not the same as man and woman. Men
Mm,
contain masculine and feminine, and women contain feminine and masculine. um,
indeed.
so masculine is protective. So I was living in my masculine, and how I began as a solopreneur, and how I began in all my entire money journey still came from a place of being more protective and safety oriented. But
Mm,
protection, safety, and control, like you were saying, Jerry, about being in. So the masculine side. So a lot of what we're dealing with today in the world is all hustle culture, and hustle culture is masculine. Masculine is about doing, moving, taking
mhm,
action, being quick, dominating your field. Things like that are masculine. And feminine is about creative flow, allowing, seeing what comes next, pausing, resting, figuring out what you need, taking a day off when you feel like it. Those kind of things are feminine. It doesn't mean it's female, it means it's feminine.
right.
Feminine is about flow, and about, sometimes when you find the stuff you want when you're not looking for it. Like that's feminine
Mm,
flow. It's like, hey, just let it arrive. Hey, oh, there it is. Oh, I found, when you're hunting and trying to go and get it and everything, that's being in your masculine. That's about controlling. I'm going to get there first. When these people are, you got to wake up earlier than everybody else. No, you don't. You don't have to wake up earlier than everybody else. You do not need to wake up earlier than everybody else to be a millionaire, I promise.
Yeah, that
That's
is fact.
feminine. Feminine money does not need waking up early. It doesn't need hours and hours in the gym. It doesn't need any of that. And so those are the things, learning my way into feminine flow with money. And moving from a solopreneur in masculine is feeling like I got to do it all by myself. I'm gonna prove something. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna show them. And
Mhm.
feminine energy is like, hey guys, I'm struggling. I need some help. Can anybody do this with me? Who can do that? And feminine energy, it ignites and inspires cooperation, cooperative collaboration, a collective who works on things together. Feminine energy inspires that. So the more we get into our feminine energy, the more we reach to others who like, want, and support what we're doing. And then we discover, and I discovered in that process that I didn't have to do everything alone. So
Gotcha.
release and control has been a little bit of a struggle, but it's each time I let go of control and realize, oh, the ball didn't fall. It didn't fall without me
Yeah,
holding it all up. And then that encourages me to open another feminine layer.
got you. That's interesting. And me as a man, and and being, like you say, or at least me assuming that I'm mostly operating in a masculine, position most of the time. But what you just told me, or what you just told all of us, is I've got a better insight into how I've been using feminine energy correctly. I'm gonna tell you where I'm at with it right now.
Mm,
Like, I don't even try to hold everything anymore at this point. I mean, I'm gonna do the task I know I need to do. Like, I wake up, like, practically every day and set an itinerary, or I may set it at the beginning of the week. But, um, but like, let's say, like having a good team and being
mm,
like, hey, yo, hey, team, this is my task list. I really ain't got time for nothing else. Can one of you guys pick up this particular task?
mm,
And um and it's mutual between any one of us in the group. So um like you say, just allowing flow to happen, and allowing what's I guess reciprocity to happen too. So
mm.
level of reciprocity to happen,
Yeah.
because um yeah, just yeah, solopreneur in it, regardless of what the field is, it just equals burnout. Is what happens. That's pretty much what
Yes.
happens.
100%.
Yeah, like even for me as a man, and I'm pretty diligent and pretty resilient. But yeah, I mean, it's been several times I've been on the brink of burnout, and it's just like makes me feel like as a man, like yeah, I ain't even supposed to experience burnout. What is this? But right, it's like, but what happens is it wears and tears on your body, wears and tears on your mental, and puts you pretty much in a toxic state of mind. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And or but yeah, a toxic state of mind, especially kind of brings you back down to the root chakra and be like, oh no, no, you need to heal this. This part you need to
Yes.
heal. You see what
Mm,
I'm saying? Like you need to really bring you right back down to that square one. Um, and so what I've heard over the course of this podcast is, when we're looking at um, healing as individuals, starting from the root chakra, uh, is such a I won't say easy, but it's such a harmonious connection into being able to heal the community.
mm.
You feel me? Because if you're not healed there, um, and let's just bring it back to the concept of money, the concept of finance, the concept of giving exchange, concept of bartering, whatever it looks like. Um, If you're not healed there, you almost you essentially like you become parasitic.
Yes. Mm.
Become parasitic to yourself and parasitic to your environment,
Yes.
right?
Because you're pulling in instead of
Instead
sharing
of
out. And that's a perfect actually thing that you said there, because that's the shape of the chakras. You know, the
mm,
chakras, sorry to cut you off.
oh,
The
good, yeah,
chakras are wheels. And so people think that it's this kind of, a wheel. It sits in the front of you and it just spins like this. And it isn't. The actual shape of these chakras, and this is based like this is like a physics thing.
mm,
They turn, they churn, they spin.
mm,
And so this makes a wheel. If you're
mm,
deeply tuned in to the chakra, how it actually moves like this. It doesn't move in a spinning wheel, moving in one direction.
gotcha,
There's no linear things anywhere in our
right,
cycles and systems. There's nothing is linear. Nothing moves just one direction. So the chakra moves like this. So if the chakra is closed, the a
mm,
blocked chakra, a blocked chakra can be closed. The root chakra can be closed where nothing is getting in and nothing is getting out. And then it can be open but full of debris,
mm,
where while that debris is in there, it's needing to pull more energy from the environment because it doesn't have enough. It's not rooted. It doesn't have enough to sustain itself. So it's pulling. So that pulling becomes parasitic. That pulling is the energy of parasitic. When I don't have enough, when I am not enough, then I need to take from the things around me in order to be enough. And so that's what the energy of parasitic actually comes from, whether it's parasites, these little microbes, or
right,
whether it's parasitic people, parasitic demonics,
mhm,
and so the root exactly decides. And again, it's not linear. So just one thing I also wanted to share about the chakras, a lot of people think the chakras go root, sacral,
mhm,
solar plexus, heart, and then it goes up in a straight line. Boom, you reach the top, bam, you're done. The chakras do not move like that either. The
mhm,
first chakra, the first chakra is actually the heart. So the root
mm,
isn't the first chakra. The heart is the first chakra.
makes sense,
And then it goes down the front of the body, gets rooted, and then goes up the back of the body until it reaches the crown. And then when it hits the crown, then it comes back down again until it arrives at the heart. So
gotcha,
the root, so the heart is the first to develop, just like in a human body. The first thing that happens
sure,
before while you're still a little glob of jelly, the first thing that happens that's formed fully is a heart. And then the heart starts to beat. And when the energy of the heart is beating, all of the rest of the being can begin to develop.
mm,
So then it develops all those things, and it develops bones, develops blood, things like that. So all of that is root. So once it gets down there, once it has the point that it's at the when it's at the root, that's when the child's the baby, the fetus bones begin to form, etc. But yeah, I wanted to throw that
gotcha.
in too. So I'm sorry, I
No,
sidetracked
no, no, no,
myself.
it was right on time, it's right on time, it's right on time. And I'll even say this, I think this is relative to what you just said. From like the masculine perspective, from the masculine side of it, looking at me because we're looking at the root chakra and then its attributes of security, protection, um, by societal, well, no, just by nature, no, not even just societal norm, by nature, that's also masculine energy as well, right?
Mhm.
Um, and so, as a man, you know, assuming that a man is, healthily operating in masculine energy, we have a desire, an innate desire to like fulfill that position, at least with ourselves and also likely with our family and also community. In other words, especially when you grow into a grown man, when you become a grown man, you get a sense of being responsible for everything. You get a sense of being responsible. And it's like this: if you feel like you cannot um, fulfill that role, you may feel a little purposeless. May feel a little purposeless. And essentially what that does is it completely removes you, like even the stress factor of it, but it kind of completely removes you from the creative aspect, or let's say the expansion aspect of having a good relationship with money. You see what I'm
Yeah,
saying? It's
definitely.
like let me give you an example. You know, we was raised. I was pretty much grew up in the conscious community, right? And so, we've seen the errors of it. Well, just the not errors, the eras, like the different stages
No, both
of
errors and
errors.
errors.
You know what? A little bit of both. A little bit of both. Yeah.
But we'll put a pin in
We'll put a
that.
um, but we learn, you know, uh, like the principles of nature pretty well. But when I was growing up, I got into uh, the construction field, like as a man, right? As a young man, very young man. I think I was like 19, and this is essentially, what it did for me. It's like I learned one trade, and then learning several other trades along the way. That's just how the construction industry works. You learn one, that means when you learn, you operating whatever your trade is, you doing it. That means you have to work in unison with other tradesmen, right? So you pick up their crafts as well along the way, and you do it long enough. You even if you're not proficient at every single trade, you at least have a very good idea of how it works. And then what happens is this too. You say, okay, um, I feel now proficient. I feel confident as well in being able to build from scratch. You see what I mean? It's like you feel confident being able to build from scratch. And you can take that, and then you think even further. You say, okay, yeah, it doesn't matter where I am, I get in the world. I feel necessary. I feel purposeful. I feel like I can provide for any family, any community, and make them feel safe and protected,
Yeah.
right? Um, and it's that for men is it's like that. It's almost like this. It's like men and women have a root chakra. It's like for men, it's like you gotta fulfill and or heal your root chakra double time. It's like you've got to be able to um, heal it individually, right? But then it also has to have an application externally.
Mm.
It's like has to have an application externally. I think this is where the most healthy men, if they feel like they can contribute, whatever the trade is, I mean, whatever their skill set is, if they feel they can contribute to their ecosystem, you feel what I mean? If they feel like they can contribute to their ecosystem, then they feel masculine. Right, you feel masculine, right? Not I'm not gonna go too deep into this, but but the truth of the matter is, in the womb, I mean, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but in the womb, we all start off as females. Am I correct about that?
That's not
That that
quite,
that's 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 that's
yeah,
that's,
that's
that's an
not
interesting term.
anatomically, that's not quite, there's some people who missed like the actual anatomy before they started to share that around. I know what you're talking about, but it
Yeah,
does,
yeah,
like, there's no, as soon as your DNA decides who you are, you don't start off as anything except what you are. Now
got you.
you express certain things first, but
Mhm,
you
mhm.
always are who you are the entire
Okay,
time.
got you. Okay, that makes sense. That makes
Yeah.
sense. That makes
There's a
sense. That
point in the womb when we look like a fish, like a tadpole, like, so we're not expressing being a frog, like we're not a frog for some of the time. We're just expressing a certain evolution, a certain piece of the evolution. So
that's
yeah.
that's real. That is real. That is real. Um, one last point on this. Just getting going into the money part of this. Um, for masculine energy, when that root chakra is healthy and the masculine energy is feeling fulfilled, especially as a man, it puts you in the state of mind of, I mean, not only can I like do something and or sit still to attract money or make money, but I literally can make money. In other words, in other words, is okay, you get to thinking to yourself, okay, what does any action or item, what's its intrinsic value? And you get to looking at it like, I can pretty much break down the concept of that action or that item. I'm pretty sure I can make it. Literally. I'm pretty sure I can make it. And then you get to thinking, you know what, while I'm making it, I might as well put a dollar amount on it too. You see what I'm saying? I might as well put a dollar amount on it. It's saying all of that to say this, just from the other end of the spectrum. From a masculine standpoint, when you truly heal the root chakra, that is the I want to believe the most healed and expansive uh, position of that. It's like you don't have a fear of um, making money because you understand literally what it takes to make it. Literally, you see what I'm saying?
To
So
actually produce it, yeah.
to actually produce it, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I would say that it's still only one piece of the puzzle. All of them are still necessary because you
Yeah.
can make something, for example, and this is one thing that I've had issues with too. But this is which is why going through each journey of the chakra is so interesting. But I have made amazing things, incredible services, incredible products, and then I did not know how to market them.
Mm,
So if without the throat chakra, you can make the best stuff in the world, but if nobody knows you have it, nobody is
right.
benefiting from it, and you're not getting any value from having made it.
Indeed.
If you make something incredible, but you cannot collaborate with other people to build it, for example, say second chakra, you can't. It's still not going to come into fruition. So the root is still the foundational aspect,
Mhm,
and in putting the masculine and feminine on it, and again talking about energies just in case anyone just
mhm,
tuned in, um it- like it's equally as important, definitely, absolutely, for the feminine to get fully properly rooted,
mhm,
because in the feminine, well, let me actually take us a little side journey again, and go into male and female, in traditional gender roles and traditional moving with this, or traditional physiology, I'll say. Um, if the feminine is not rooted properly, the feminine is going to choose a partner who is not, that is going to attract, by law of attraction, she will attract a partner who is not properly rooted, and then will not be able to produce
mhm,
in order to provide for their offspring. She's not going to choose, she's only going to choose somebody at the level of where she's at. So she's going to choose somebody who doesn't produce, and then they're going to produce offspring who are struggling, and they're going to continue the cycle. They're going to continue the cycle of damaged root. So it is super important. So for a woman, before she even arrives at the second chakra, to be able to create other humans and bring them into this realm, she's got
mhm,
to be rooted, and whatever is lacking, whatever is closed, whatever is unevolved, whatever is open and filled with debris, whatever is spinning in the wrong direction or chaotically spinning, all of that stuff is going to affect whatever she becomes in the next stage of her chakra cycle. So
mhm.
it's super important. So a woman with a damaged root will connect with a man, like you said. If a man's root is not solid, he's going to not be a great producer, not going to feel like he's his full value, his full potential is being met, and that's going to create another negative cycle. So, and that's how these DNA ancestry, that's how this stuff gets
Yes,
passed down. It's people who've
yes,
never made it past the root healing. It's people
mhm,
who've never completed the root healing. So the root has to open. It can't be here. This is what it is when you're first born. It's like a little flower bud. It has to open. It has to begin to spin, and
mhm,
then if it gets any kind of debris, any kind of all trauma, emotional trauma, mental trauma, everything makes debris. So if it gets filled with debris,
mhm,
it's going to be moving. It's going to be just like say like a liver, when a liver is filled with, toxins or things like
Right.
that, it's going to be filled with debris. It's not going to function properly. It's not going to spin freely and loosely. And the more that it spins when it's open and free, it's going to open and open and open until it's spinning at this, this. So people who are great producers, people
Mhm.
who are easy, who just make money everywhere they go, just money just loves them and the money follows them. They produce finances so easily. They manage money well. That's people who are with this deeply rooted, open, healthy spin. That's
Mhm.
when it becomes easy, when it becomes natural and flowing. And then this deep, open, healthy spin connects to the sacral chakra, which is about our creativity and our ability to produce and reproduce. So if this is blocked and it's only producing a little bit, you'll have to work so hard, like giving that Garden of Eden example about the like, if you're expelled from the garden is your root. You're
Gotcha.
expelled from the garden and now you have to toil or whatever it was that. I'm sorry, I'm not, anybody listening, I'm not, that's not my religion, so I'm not that, I don't, not that detailed on it, but I know there was a story in the Garden of Eden. There was like the man and woman got expelled from the garden and then they had to go work hard for the rest of their lives, and that was the like their curse or something.
All right.
And the this if you're not free flowing, if you're not living in your own garden, then you actually, like, you can produce things, you can but it's always going to be hard. It's going to be, that's the, you got to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, that's the that's
Yeah.
that's what you have to do when you're not have, but when your root chakra is open and it's flowing, you do not have to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning to start your day. You do not have to take ice baths every morning at 5 a.m. It just like that, those things, they are not necessary in order to make you a winner. So those things, the hard work is necessary for people who have,
Yeah.
who
Sure.
are blocked and not
Yeah.
free, because when you're free, it all becomes.
Yeah. I was just gonna say yes. So a block root chakra essentially means you're gonna be working hard and not smart.
Yeah, exactly. Bam. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And
Gotcha.
that's what we're all doing. That's what everybody is seeing now. Our world is literally made up of people who are working hard, but most people
Mhm.
are not work smart. And we don't even have a culture, which is like, this is why this kind of work, making this podcast, doing these things, we need to bring money to the heart level universally,
Yes.
because nobody should be working hard for money. Nobody should be
Exactly.
working hard to own things and have things that are, many of which are produced by the earth naturally. We have, like, the equation is the earth produced it, multiplied times human ingenuity equals, this amazing fabulous thing that I want to have. And in order to have those things, it should not require hard work. Because if I trade my ingenuity, if I share my ingenuity into the common pot, and you receive some of my ingenuity and take some of my like, we should all be cross pollinating. And
Yes.
and then we're all in a state of expansion, because each thing that we take from the community pot that helps us thrive is making us thrive into an even more expansive and more creative state. So it's getting us to put something back into the community pot for someone else to come and take. So we're all cross pollinating and we're all thriving.
Mhm.
Whenever it's hard, now we're all out here collectively working hard, and that's not what it's supposed to look like. So that's because of a damage, because money started out from an evil place. Money started out by people with damaged root chakras and damaged solar plexus chakras, who felt the need to dominate and control and take, and that resources were limited. Resources are only limited if you're stuck in survival thinking. If you
Mhm.
don't have the capacity to produce, you'll always feel like the resources are limited. There's no limited resources. The universe is completely abundant.
Absolutely. And or if you're letting somebody convince you that the resources are limited.
Hmm.
Um,
Exactly.
yeah, I think that's a big one to touch on. But we're about out a little bit past the hour mark. I want to recap a
Should
few
we
things
take it
too.
at yeah, then 20 minutes? Should we take it to the hour and a half?
We,
Round it out. I know we do
more
have a
than
lot to
more than
recap, so we'll.
more than likely we will. More than likely we
True
will.
point.
You feel me?
True point.
Um, but I you know, kind of want us to try to pin down, or let's just get back to the conversation of what is it, based on me and your experience. Because we talked about, um, when it comes to the root chakra, self analyzation. In other words, truly sitting with yourself and discovering and acknowledging what it is that you need to feel safe and secure.
Mm,
Uh, we're gonna say that's thing number one to do, right?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Reach
Um,
for whatever sense of safety and security, that whatever healthy sense of safety and security
right.
we can to start with.
Got you. If you can if you can think of it, what would be another, let's say, you know, I guess call to action we can give to the people that would say, okay, this is how I, begin to heal and expand the root chakra.
Yeah. So besides, so I think I would like to condense it by saying, as a person who's been on a spiritual journey, I've been a yoga teacher for gosh, oh, I don't even know how many years now. I'll have to
Yeah.
figure it out, add it up. But a yoga teacher, Kundalini, studying, the art of energy movement through the body.
Mhm.
Um, a lot of times we think the root chakra is like, oh, good, get some stones, and and I'm not discounting any of these things, but I think for our podcast, what we'd like to do is focus on real world habits, and like you said, like
Mhm.
the actions that can make these shifts besides the traditional, get red jasper or get, black obsidian and things like that, and listen to an om mantra, or something. Those things are helpful, and they are absolutely valid. And I do think that they are like an important part of, oh, would you mind? They are an important part of the chakra journey, the journey towards that healing. But besides, getting the right crystals and using the right sound frequencies, which maybe can be played at night and things like that, another powerful root chakra aid is, thank you, is getting um, putting yourself on a schedule. A huge
Mm.
thing. This is something that I think you that I didn't that I did, it didn't even cross my mind for years. I don't even remember where I came across it. And it's something that I
Mm.
still struggle with because it took me so long to find my way to that. Setting a schedule is one of the most important things when especially when you're thinking about the chakras in relation to money and finance. The way that I arrived from being a person with 13 brain tumors laying on a bed, not able to move, with my daughter trying to sell weed just to get us enough money to pay our light bill, living in a house with the lights turned off and the water switched off and things like that. Going from being that person to now being a CEO of a company, that generates close to $40,000 a month. Um, to the journey from that, the very real journey from that involved um, getting enough sleep. Getting enough sleep is one of the most overlooked. As a Sagittarius, it didn't even occur to me. Like, I learned the sleep game like this year.
What?
I just got clued in. I don't know why nobody told me sooner, but getting enough sleep, getting enough rest is a root chakra. Rest is a root chakra activity.
Mhm.
Specifically, it is a feminine root chakra activity because it is receptive.
Mhm.
Relaxing is receptive. And this is why a lot of people who are stuck in their masculine, stuck in survival mode, don't rest. I
Mhm.
didn't rest for my whole money journey because I was like, if I put it down for even a second, yeah, I'm gonna lose it all. I gotta keep going. And that's not how you get wealthy. That's how you work hard, but that's not how you get wealthy.
Sure.
Real wealth isn't made out of that. So getting enough rest, putting a schedule. So a schedule means, like at home, I have a dry whiteboard that has all of the days of the week.
Mhm.
It has a grid. I'm still got a little bit of my masculine balance and focus, and grid
Yeah.
structure. Still get Venus and Capricorn, so I do like my structured grids. But putting in there, planning out what it is that you need to do the next day. Put
Mhm.
it all down in a list. Color code it if you need to, format it however your brain works, however your mind works. I like creative flow, so I like things with colors and things that help me with that. But however it works for you, get 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 a system, create a structure for your day so that you have a schedule to follow. Do your very best to eat your meals at the same time each day. So eat breakfast around the general same time, exercise around the general same time, eat lunch and dinner, oops, around the
Uh-oh,
general same
I'm sorry.
time. Oh, okay, lost you there for
Right.
a second.
Okay.
And so setting yourself on these kind of schedules, eating dinner at the same time every day will actually heal your root chakra. It's not going to heal it all
Mm.
alone, but it is going to. Yes, oof, no rest for the wicked. Yes, exactly. And it is, ooh, it is a wicked journey trying to be out here, working hard for this money all the time. It is wicked.
Indeed, indeed.
Um, yes, so those kind of things. So um, those would be the main things aside from, and then I would say, as far as finances, financial planning, those kind of things. So let's think about, so root chakra is about your health, your safety. So the aspect of finances that is the most connected to the root chakra would be getting yourself life insurance, making sure that you have health insurance, setting up a long-term financial game plan. So you
Mm,
start saving for your future, saving for your future self, things like that. Those are things that are rooted, keeping the nest egg, like the squirrel saving the storing up acorns for winter, putting aside something so that your future self, because when you know that you're sitting on a nest egg, that's a sense of safety. There's a sense of
mm,
security at any point in time. If no matter what condition I'm in, if I can't work, if I'm tired, like if I had gone through the experience of the brain tumors and because thankfully I did have savings at the time. I did have savings and I was living off my savings almost for that whole year while I was going through healing. Hey, Tab, peace, peace. I did have savings, so thankfully the savings got me through some of that time, or else it would have been much, much worse. We would have lost everything way sooner. But if I had like a nice, healthy, rooted, open spinning chakra that was able to like fully produce and draw, what I needed to me more effortlessly, I would have had more stored up, and I could have gone through that period of health issues and things like that without so much struggle. So setting aside, making sure that there's finances set aside for the future, making sure that you have a schedule so that every day you know what it is that you're going to do next, having a financial management plan in place, and having life insurance, because eventually after you build up your life insurance enough, you're going to be able to do infinite banking. And we're going to cover that in a whole other topic another time. That's about our vision. So that's our sixth chakra, about what it is that you can do with the stacks of money once you have that saved up, because you can take a little money and take care of yourself. You can take a little more money and you can take care of your family, and then as it goes up the stack, you're able to
mm,
take care of more. You're able to leave a legacy to yourself into the future. You're able to leave legacy for other people in the future and things like that. So money is, the higher up that it goes up the different like root, or I won't say higher because I don't want to use the higher lower paradigm, but it expresses itself through the different centers at different levels of evolution into the world, into what's being able to be given into the world. So yes, so that's my recap. Can you recap that for me so I remember that I got it all?
Listen, listen. We should have put the AI companion on. You know what I mean? Because a recap. Um, but those are tangible action items, though. You know what I mean? I like them, and it's like I could give you a recap, but it's um, what you stated is I want to say about 90% of that. I practice already, right? Too, and so I completely agree with you on the matter.
Mhm.
Completely agree with you because the reason I engage in any of that is for just for what you say, for security and peace of mind.
Mm,
For security and peace of mind and protection. Like I'll say this, I didn't get like personal health insurance that I actually like paid for until relatively recently,
mm,
right? It's like me having issues with migraines kind of forced me to do that. You
mm,
see what I'm saying? But now it's, you want to know what's interesting about it. I get less headaches knowing I have the insurance, if
Mm,
that makes sense. It's my
security.
point is, you feel what I'm saying? Like the security of just having the insurance, just as an example,
Yeah.
lowers the stress factor.
Yeah.
It prevents a lot of
Exactly.
it prevents a
Exactly.
lot of the migraines in the first place.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
feel me? So,
Yes.
and it's just kind of like, just having, I mean, because health insurance is essentially having a tool that you know that you can use that will help you,
Exactly.
or relieve some stress. And so when you know you when you know you have this tool, it's like you just move more comfortably.
Yes.
Like I don't care, like I don't
Right.
care
And
what's
money
going
is a
on.
tool. As soon as we have money, we move more comfortably. As soon as we know we have
Exactly.
something, as soon as that, because there's no crisis. Wait, let me fix that. There's almost no crisis that money can't solve. There's
Right.
almost no crisis. There are issues that are, some people say, oh, if a person, got cancer and died. No, but money can solve even that.
We
Money
could,
can
could,
solve
could,
a
could.
lot of those things. Money can solve health where we can go and get our health checked
Mhm,
before anything actually starts to happen.
mhm.
So the level of security provided by this tool, when we put this tool in our toolbox, money is a tool, when we put it in our toolbox and we learn how to apply this tool to different life scenarios, then we automatically develop a sense of safety and security just from knowing the tool is in the toolbox.
Indeed.
And when the tool is in the toolbox and we learn how to handle and manage it, the tool can actually build us other things,
Yeah,
develop other things for us, and then create a circumstance where we're now providing something powerful and helpful for other people.
exactly. 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 Yeah, I'm not gonna go too deep into this, but the tool analogy, just having a background in construction, it's we I can get my job done with minimal tools, right? But it's going to hurt more. It's going to take more time, and it's going to cause stress. Because it's going to put me in a state of me maybe not being able to follow through to the extent or proficiency that I want to follow through on. You feel what I'm saying? So, like you say, yeah, I think it's important to bring up that statement. Money is a tool.
Mm,
Money is a, is,
exactly.
a- is a tool. And so what we were trying to say to everyone is, I mean, in in this world right now, money is a tool. Is it a absolute lifeline? Do you need to worship it? No, but you do need to respect it. You see what I'm saying? You need to
Yes.
respect its value in the world right now. In other words, respecting the value of being able to agree upon a tool of exchange, or instrument of exchange with your ecosystem, right? Or being able to provide some value and someone else see that as valuable,
Yeah.
right? That's what keeps that's what keeps you from becoming parasitic, right?
Yeah.
Indeed, indeed.
And can
Um,
I ask you,
yeah, yeah, for sure.
from the masculine perspective, what are some ways that the the masculine both um, m- can use to prepare for the root chakra healing, and what are some ways that you have seen or done yourself that that leave you unprepared? So
Mhm.
also, besides having like a call to action for people to actually use things to use, what are some of the pitfalls or like of and things like that as well?
Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. So, like, let's say starting, I'm gonna be honest. When it comes to men, when it comes to, let's say, males embodying masculine energy,
Mm.
right? Um, yeah, I'm gonna have to give a spiel the way you did. You feel me? It actually starts in the youth, because um, we may naturally have a energetic nature. like let's say in general, most boys, but but it has to be honed properly, right? It's I'm not saying feminine energy doesn't have to be honed properly, but it's almost, like you say, feminine energy is relaxed, it's receptive.
Mhm.
Masculine energy is extroverted, it's direct, it's out there doing stuff, and it's like you got to be like, okay, that over there is doing something. Let me kind of get it to do something that we need it to do,
Yeah.
right? So saying all that to say this, when you think about the rites of passage of young boys, that's important first. That's important first. And realistically, um, in this society right now, we don't in general we don't practice that in
Mhm.
mass, right? Not a rites of passage for young boys.
Mhm.
And um, essentially, what it does, it grows adult men who then go back and try to you know do that at whatever age they're at, right? So first things first. So again, trying to condense it the way you did individually, like as a man, um, you have to balance what your purpose is. Well, let me say this: what your dreams are, and comparison and contrast to what your actual natural function and purpose as a man is.
Okay, so sixth chakra aligned
Mhm.
with root.
Yeah, you have to,
Mhm.
because you've got a lot of, let's say, dreaming going on. You can have a lot of dreaming going on, but those dreams, it's like analogically, it's like if you don't have a safe foundation to actually lay down and go to sleep and actually dream.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying? It's like that area of travel, that area of expansion is just going to get disturbed, right?
Mhm.
So I mean, as far as a very specific thing, that, let's say, a man can do, tomorrow. Um, Believe it or not, you outlined those just a minute ago, right? Like, especially when it comes to men, men can, let's say, setting the schedule for a man is very important. Setting the schedule for a man is like extremely important.
Okay.
Um, because it begins to, just itemize his function from day to day,
Mhm.
which accumulate over, let's say, a week, over a month, and then you can look back and say, okay, I produced this much at the end of this quarter, right? And you begin to quantify, because that's how men, that's how we think in general. That's what our ecosystem is kind of requiring and expecting from us. And then not only, let's say, our complement, the women and the children, but other men too. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's like I love all of my brothers, I do. But at this stage of life, when we talk, for the most part, we're talking about what are we doing? What are we providing?
Mhm.
What are we building? Or what issues are we having in your family, my family, in the collective in general, so we can solve those issues.
Mhm.
You see what I mean? So that is like, just growing into, healthy masculinity. That's not a burden. It shouldn't feel like a burden to you,
That's
right?
purpose.
It's purpose. You know what I mean? So